I hadn't expected the weekend trip to feel like an escape. It was supposed to be just a casual getaway, me and my best friend Jay, 2 nights in a beachside resort, a little sun, a little tequila. Nothing dangerous, nothing complicated, until his brother showed up. Luca was never supposed to be part of the plan. He was a last-minute addition, Jay's younger brother visiting from out of town, and his own friends bailed on him last second. Jay shrugged when he asked if Luca could tag along. He's chill. You'll like him. I hadn't seen Luca in years. Last time was a family barbecue. He was barely 20 then, quiet, lanky, hiding behind a beer and a backward cap. Now, at 25, he walked into the hotel lobby in a sleeveless black tee, forearms taut, dark eyes that didn't flinch when they met mine. And something else, a smirk. Or was it a challenge? I remember you, he said, his voice lower than I expected. You used to have longer hair. I laughed, brushing my fingers through my cropped cut. Yeah? You used to have a baby face. His smile didn't falter. Guess we both grew up. Jay clapped him on the back and handed over room keys. You've got room 507. I'm in 505 with a couple of buddies who'll join later. And Luca, you're in 509. That's when it started unraveling. At the front desk, Luca returned 10 minutes later with an annoyed scowl. Apparently there was a system glitch. My room's double-booked, and everything else is sold out. Jay shrugged. Just crash in one of our rooms tonight. No big deal. He turned to me. Mind if Luca crashes with you? I hesitated, not because I didn't want to, but because I did. Something about Luca's presence felt too alive, too aware. Still, I nodded. Sure. The room was standard, clean, single king-sized bed. I offered to ask the front desk for a rollaway, but Luca waved me off. Come on, he said, tossing his bag into the corner. We're both adults. Not like I'm gonna grope you in your sleep. I chuckled, but something about the way he said it, dry, unbothered, made my skin tingle. He stripped off his shirt, revealing a trail of ink running down his side, and grabbed a towel. Gonna shower. I watched the bathroom door close behind him and exhaled. This shouldn't be a problem. I had a boyfriend, Daniel. He was back home. Loving. Trusting. I'd texted him when I arrived. Safe and sound. Beach looks great. He replied with a heart emoji and a selfie of him cuddling our dog. I stared at it now and typed out, Jay's brother's crashing with me tonight, then erased it. Luca came out in only a towel, hair wet, eyes unfocused. Your turn, he said, brushing past me, water dripping down his shoulder. Inside the bathroom, I leaned on the sink and stared at my reflection. I told myself I was just tired, that I was imagining things, that I'd sleep on the edge of the bed and keep my hands to myself. When I emerged, the room lights were dim. Luca was already under the covers, back turned to me, phone glowing in his hand. He didn't speak, just reached out and turned off the lamp. I slid in beside him, the bed suddenly much smaller than it had looked earlier. For a while, I lay flat, rigid, aware of every breath I took, every inch between our bodies. Then he shifted, rolled toward me. Not fully, not intentionally, but enough. His arm brushed mine. His thigh pressed lightly against my leg. I didn't move. In the stillness, I listened to his breathing. Slow, deep. He was asleep. Or pretending to be. My mind drifted. Back to the look he gave me in the lobby. The towel. The smell of his skin. And to Daniel, 100 miles away, probably watching TV in our bed, under our familiar sheets, with no idea that I was laying here, wide awake, resisting thoughts I shouldn't be having. Or maybe not resisting them at all. Luca shifted again. This time his arm curled across my stomach, light and warm. His chest touched my back. Breath on my neck. His entire body, relaxed, unguarded, slid into mine like it belonged there. I knew I should pull away. But I didn't. I didn't sleep. Luca stayed close the entire night, breathing steady, his hand resting lightly across my waist like it belonged there. I kept still, afraid that any movement would either wake him, or wake something else in me. Something I had spent years locking down with rules and labels and quiet loyalty. At dawn, his fingers twitched against my stomach, then slowly pulled away. He rolled to the other side of the bed without a word. Still asleep, maybe. Or maybe pretending, like I was. I got up first, grabbing my phone and slipping into the bathroom. My face in the mirror looked older than usual. Or maybe just exposed. Daniel had texted late last night. "Miss you already. Don't forget sunscreen, babe." I stared at it too long. Then I typed back. "Didn't sleep great. Weird dreams." And hit send. By the time I stepped out, Luca was sitting up, shirtless, hair tousled, watching something on his phone. He glanced at me. "Morning." "Morning," I said, pretending not to notice the way the blanket had slid halfway down his torso, revealing the cut of his abdomen and the shadow of a tattoo near his hip. "You always that stiff in bed?" he asked with a sly grin. "Not usually," I replied before I could stop myself. He smirked. "Must have been me, then." Jay knocked minutes later, breezy and clueless. "Beach in 20. You guys ready?" Luca stood and stretched, arms over his head, lean muscles shifting like rope. "Let's go," he said, grabbing his shorts and slipping them on without shame. I averted my eyes. Or tried. We spent most of the day in the sun. Jay kept bouncing between groups of friends, playing volleyball and flirting with bartenders. Luca and I stayed closer. Not deliberately. But our towels were side by side. Our conversations easy. Too easy. He teased me about my SPF obsession. I caught him watching me as I read, his gaze lingering on my chest a second too long. At one point, he leaned over, voice low. "You know, I used to have a crush on you." I blinked. "What?" "When I was like 19. Thought you were the hottest guy Jay ever brought around. Used to hope you'd break up with Daniel." I forced a laugh. "You were a kid. I'm not now." He stood and walked into the ocean, leaving that sentence behind like a match dropped into dry grass. That night, Jay got pulled into a poker game in someone else's suite. "You too good on your own?" he asked, tossing the room key my way. I nodded, too quickly. Luca raised an eyebrow. "Just us again?" "Looks like it," I said, not trusting myself to add anything else. We stopped for drinks on the way up. Nothing strong. Just enough to blur the edges. The room was quiet, the silence humming between us as I peeled off my shirt and tossed it on the chair. "You always this careful?" Luca asked from behind me. I turned. "Careful how?" He stepped forward, close enough that I could feel the heat between our bare chests. "Like you're afraid I'll break you if I touch you." "Should I be?" Luca smiled, but it wasn't playful. It was something darker. Realer. Maybe. I moved to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, splashed water on my face like it would cool whatever this was. When I stepped back into the room, Luca was lying on his side, eyes half-lidded. Shirtless, his lower half hidden under the sheet. He didn't say anything as I slid into bed beside him. Minutes passed. Then his voice. "Do you think about him when you're here? Your boyfriend?" I exhaled. "Sometimes." "Do you think he's thinking about you?" "That's not fair." "I didn't say it was." He rolled onto his back, staring at the ceiling. "You looked at me last night. I felt it." I stayed quiet. "You didn't move when I touched you." "No," I admitted. "I didn't." His hand moved slowly under the covers, inching toward mine. It found my thigh. Warm. Steady. Intentional. I didn't stop him. He whispered, still not moving. "Still don't want to." He turned to me, voice lower now, almost a murmur. "Then don't lie to me about where this is going." I looked into his eyes. There was no teasing now. No smirk. Just hunger. And something scarier, recognition. He leaned in, and I didn't stop him. Our foreheads touched, breath shared, lips barely brushing. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But it was no longer innocent. Not even close. His mouth found mine in the dark, slow, deliberate, unafraid. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. It was the kind of kiss that had been waiting in silence, behind glances and near touches, breathing through the cracks of everything we pretended not to feel. Luca's hand moved to my chest, fingers grazing across my skin like he was learning the shape of something forbidden. I kissed him back. Harder than I should have. Deeper than I meant to. I didn't stop. And neither did he. Sheets tangled beneath us as we pulled each other closer, bodies pressed tight, skin fevered. Every kiss tasted like a risk. Every gasp felt like a confession. I'd never seen him like this, eyes focused, mouth soft, his body moving with a quiet confidence that didn't ask for permission. It took only moments before clothes were a memory. My hand slipped down his back, dragging him closer until there was nothing between us but heat and need. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice hoarse, even as I already knew the answer. Luca nodded, pupils blown wide. "You know I am." We didn't speak after that. There was only breath and pulse, hands and mouths, rhythm and friction. He moved like he belonged to me. Like he had for longer than I knew. Like we were doing something inevitable. And maybe we were. The sound of our bodies against the sheets echoed louder than I wanted. Louder than guilt. Louder than Daniel's name, buried somewhere under the weight of Luca's body on mine. My fingers dug into his shoulders. He moaned into my neck, whispered things he shouldn't say, things that didn't sound like lies. It wasn't just sex. That was the worst part. It felt like something we'd both needed. Like we'd been starving for it. And when we were finished, sweaty, tangled, breathless, it wasn't shame that hit me first. It was silence. Luca rested his head on my chest, his hand tracing aimless shapes along my side. "I'm not going to ask if you regret it," he said softly. "Good," I whispered. "Because I don't know yet." His laugh was short, dry. "I don't regret it." Of course he didn't. He had nothing to lose. I stared at the ceiling, heart still hammering, feeling the weight of everything that had just shifted. I had crossed a line that wasn't just physical, it was personal. Emotional. A breach of trust that Daniel would never see coming. And part of me hated how right it felt in the moment. Luca's fingers threaded with mine under the covers. We lay that way for a long time, breathing in sync, saying nothing. Eventually, I pulled away. Guilt crept in like a slow fog, settling into my bones. I sat on the edge of the bed and reached for my phone. Daniel had texted again. "Hope you're having fun. Let's FaceTime tomorrow morning." I locked the screen without responding. Luca sat up behind me, the sheet pooling around his waist. "You okay?" "No," I said quietly. "But I will be." He didn't press. He just stood, walked to the bathroom, and disappeared behind the door. I heard the water start. A part of me wanted to go in after him. Another part wanted to disappear completely. When he returned, damp hair falling over his eyes, I was already halfway dressed. He leaned against the doorframe, watching me. "So that's it?" he asked. "We pretend it didn't happen? What do you want me to say, Luca?" His eyes burned. "I want you to stop acting like it didn't mean something." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw it. The vulnerability, the ache, the hope. It was too much. "It did mean something," I admitted. "But that doesn't make it right." He stepped toward me, close again. "Then make it mean something more." "I can't," I said. "You're Jay's brother. And I'm still in love with Daniel," he interrupted. "Or just scared of what this means?" I didn't answer. We both knew the truth sat somewhere in the silence. A knock came at the door. "Jay." "Yo. Breakfast time, boys. You two alive in there?" Luca didn't move. His eyes never left mine. I reached for the doorknob, my heart thudding. As I opened it, Jay grinned. "Damn, did you two hibernate or what?" I smiled back, brittle. "Yeah. Something like that." Luca brushed past me, shoulder warm against mine. His voice was low as he passed. "You can't hide from this forever." Jay didn't notice the tension. He was already talking about eggs and mimosas. I followed them down the hall, every step heavier than the last. Behind me, the room we'd crossed the line in was quiet. The bed was messy. The air still smelled like him. And in my pocket, my phone buzzed again. Daniel. The morning after didn't feel like a hangover. It felt like a reckoning. Back home, the silence in my apartment felt louder than it ever had. Daniel greeted me with a smile, wrapped his arms around me like nothing had changed. And on the surface, nothing had. The same framed photo on the dresser. The same throw blanket on the couch. The same man who'd loved me for 5 steady, uncomplicated years. But under it all, everything had shifted. He kissed my cheek. I missed you. I missed you too, I lied, voice steady enough to fool us both. Later that night, we lay in bed together, his head on my shoulder, his breathing soft. I ran my fingers through his hair the way I always did, but this time, my hand trembled slightly. Because when I closed my eyes, I didn't see Daniel. I saw Luca's mouth against my chest. His voice rasping in my ear. The way he whispered my name like it meant something entirely new. I shifted away and told Daniel I was tired. He didn't push. He never did. 2 days passed before Luca texted. Luca. Thinking about you. I haven't stopped. I stared at the message for minutes, then hours. I typed out a reply. Deleted it. Typed again. Me. You can't text me. Luca. You let me do a lot more than that. I should have blocked him. I didn't. Instead, I muted the conversation and tossed my phone across the room like that might quiet the war in my head. A week later, I saw him again. Pure accident, or maybe fate with cruel timing. Jay invited me over for drink. Said Luca was around but, probably heading out soon. He wasn't. He was in the kitchen when I arrived, barefoot, pouring himself a drink like he lived there. His eyes flicked to mine, unreadable. Hey. Hey, I said, pretending not to feel the way my breath caught. Jay was already halfway drunk, rambling about some girl he met. You two remember that beach weekend? Wild, right? I didn't even see you guys after Friday night. Hope you didn't kill each other. Luca chuckled. Not quite. Our eyes met. The silence between us was deafening. Later, Jay passed out on the couch and I slipped outside for air. The balcony was cold. Clear night sky. Just enough wind to keep my heart beating. Luca followed. He closed the sliding door behind him, leaned against the railing, close but not touching. You look different, he said. Tired, I replied. No, he said. You look like someone who's pretending they're fine. I didn't answer. He turned toward me. You think I regret it? No. Do you? I looked out at the city, lights flickering in the distance. I regret not knowing what to do now. He nodded, lips pressed together. I haven't stopped thinking about it. About you. That night wasn't just heat. It meant something to me. I know, I said. Luca stepped closer. Our arms brushed. That same old electricity flared between us, undeniable, unwanted. Say it, he murmured. I swallowed. It meant something to me too. He reached out, gently touched my wrist. Then why are you pretending? Because this, I gestured between us, is a moment. Not a life. He searched my face. But what if it could be more? Then it would have been more already. He exhaled slowly and stepped back, the absence of his touch a fresh wound. You're not staying, are you? No, I said. And neither should you. I left without saying goodbye to Jay. That night, Daniel curled against me, humming softly as he fell asleep. I watched him for a long time, wondering how love could feel so quiet when desire felt so loud. In my hand, my phone buzzed again. Luca's name on the screen. Luca. Last time. I promise. Just tell me one thing, do you still want me? I stared at it. My thumb hovered. My chest burned. But I said nothing. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my photo gallery and stared at the last picture I took of Daniel before the trip. His smile was effortless. Eyes trusting. Oh. I flipped the phone face down and turned off the light.